All right, we're live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ides of March live stream.
It is too.
I totally forgot about that.
That's right. And did everyone remember it was Pi Day
Yes, happy Pi Day, everybody.
yesterday?
That's true.
There was a great video from the Stand Up Maths crew and Three Blue One Brown about pi and being able to calculate it by bouncing blocks off each other, which is kind of neat.
That video definitely had an impact.
Oh, nice work.
I got to check that out.
That was a reach.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
He didn't have long to prepare for that. We've got to be fair.
Yeah.
Oh man. Nice. I'll give you that.
So as you can see today, we have on the stage with me our John, Stevo, and Varg. And I presume Luke will be on later. Neo is feeling under the weather, so he won't be joining. But we should have Joe coming on. Oh, look.
Has anybody heard from Mark this week about how he's been doing with the rain and everything?
No, I haven't heard much. Things seem to have eased up a bit down there, but there's a lot of places that still had no power. So yeah, it's a big old job to clean up on that. But yeah, he also may be an hour late because you guys just changed to daylight saving time.
Yeah.
And for us, it's now 11 o'clock, not 12 o'clock that the stream starts. So,
he probably
which
just
is
forgot
good for
about
me. Yeah, I
hello
like the
to
11 o'clock
Tuna.
start.
And hello, of course, to Side Boob. And Tilting is on as well. Hey, Tilting. Oh, and Aaron is up there as well. And the Christo. See, Christo is here. Ook's crook.
Okay.
Ook's a crook. And she's
Ook's
busy
crook.
cleaning up after just a bit damp.
Fair enough.
Welcome, Christo.
FYI, an Australian crook.
Larg assumed that Ook didn't understand how time zones work.
Might not have heard it.
Oy.
I only spotted it because I was flipping through YouTube and see the things set up with a live at 11 o'clock. I go, ooh, must have had a time zone change.
Yeah, so our fearless leader Trump has talked about getting rid of daylight saving time, and that would actually be something that people would actually be behind, but he wouldn't want to do that.
That's the one policy that he's come out with since getting back into office that, like, yeah, okay, I can see that one.
Yeah, it makes sense.
The reality is it doesn't seem like it does the thing people think it does. So it seemed like it should save energy, but it doesn't look like it actually does. So,
well, yeah. I think it's just annoying, and people don't want to have to deal with it.
Yeah, it's archaic. It doesn't work as it used to nowadays.
Yeah, well, its benefit isn't there in the same way that was originally thought it should be.
Yeah.
Either. So you just go no benefit, all annoyance, or limited benefit and lots of annoyance. You go,
well, getting the straws, plastic straws back isn't necessarily I mean, I guess you can kind of say it's a bad thing, but it wasn't like a huge issue. There were like people lined up in the streets protesting paper straws. That's another annoyance. So if we have to deal with paper straws and daylight saving time, just to get rid of Trump's other idiotic stuff, I would
give it a choice.
Yeah.
It's either one or the other. Pick one. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, so Joe is supposed to be on, but he's not on yet. But one thing I did want to talk about. I know there are a few things that we can bring up, but just to let everyone know, there isn't a specific agenda. This is kind of like an open mic, and if anyone's interested, like I guess I didn't really put this in the YouTube comments, but at least on Twitter, if anyone wants to come on, they can come on. But I don't think they'll be showing up. Oh, I guess we can kind of talk about all the comments that what's his name, Gogeta, was been posting. He seems to, for some reason, just been very invested in this discussion. And Clark, I know you've given him some comments.
He doesn't like it when people say bad things about his Messiah.
Yeah.
The horror.
Yeah.
What?
And the thing is, like, he just like assuming I somehow lied, despite me saying over and over that it was just an honest mistake. I just like misremembered something, but it has to be, a lie, right? That's the only possible conclusion.
Yeah, I didn't look at the comment for the last video, so I had no idea what's going on with that. I got to check that out later.
I haven't, but every once in a while I get the notification from him, his comments. So I would say a few things here and there, but it just seems like it's a lot of comments.
Oh yeah, he's certainly keen to increase engagement statistic.
Hey, that's one good thing about it.
Yeah, and all the Andrew sycophants definitely did increase the views on the Andrew video, as well as all the comments. And the interesting thing is, like, none of them have been able to respond to my comment that basically they're going against my right to express my opinion, which is that I don't think that Modern Day Debate should have him on. And, no one can respond and say why that's not just simply an expression of an opinion, and why that has to be, quote unquote, deplatforming just because I used the word platform instead of channel.
Yeah, they're just splitting hairs and arguing semantics there.
Yeah, but at least Gogeta, his maybe he kind of realized that portion is a fact, or it's just nonsensical to say, to say that me expressing my opinion is somehow, is somehow deplatforming. So maybe that's why he's really stuck on this idea that I'm, I purposely and maliciously made up that thing.
Yeah, I love the he goes and specifically makes up and goes, here's an analogy basically, and says, you murdered person X. See, I made it up, and that's exactly what QC did. So therefore they're the same. Yeah, trying to say, yeah, was it made up? Was it a lie? And you go, yes, it was a lie because you specifically made it up for the purpose of the analogy. And you have no reason to think it's true because, yeah, we don't know too many people called person X anyway. But, yeah, just can't get the idea that you have to demonstrate an intent to tell a lie for it to be a lie. It's just an untruth if it's not intended. So,
hey
yeah.
Joe, you're on.
Hey, Joe.
So Joe, we were just talking about a commenter on the previous live stream who claimed that me misunderstand or mistaking Andrew Wilson as the person who doxed Arden Hart, that it somehow can only be me making it up. And so the analogy he gave was, someone just saying that someone murdered someone and just making up a story. But of course, that's the wrong analogy. It would be closer if I had thought that someone murdered another person, and let's say didn't get a good view of that person, but it seemed like it was this the person that I'm accusing them of, and it turned out I was wrong. That doesn't necessarily mean that I was lying and making things up, to have made a mistake. There's certainly a lot of people who make a mistake, in terms of eyewitness testimony, there are errors, and that's why, there are things like a trial to, make sure that there is actual evidence.
Right.
But anyway,
And
I-
usually you have to demonstrate the mens rea component of
Mhm.
most crimes in order to for it to be a guilty verdict.
Yep. And he's not considering any mens rea to just, accuse me of, having made up that accusation, as if like it's somehow beyond possibility that someone like Andrew Wilson would, dox a trans person,
Yeah, wouldn't be surprising. But in terms of making errors, I recently saw Andrew make an error where he was on some podcast talking about a proposal to have a 90% marginal tax rate for the very richest people, and saying that if you earn $3 million, that means you have to pay 90% of $3 million in tax. And was going on about it, and he just go, "That's not how marginal tax rates work, mate." But
yeah, I actually
I don't.
posted that.
Yeah, I don't see him coming up and putting an apology next to that
Exactly.
error.
He was obviously lying, right? He knew
Yeah,
that's not
Yeah.
how marginal tax rates work.
Yeah,
not
obviously.
ignorant, not making a mistake. No, just
Yeah, but anyway, I think that's enough discussion of Andrew Wilson. Joe, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I
Excellent.
just realized I left my hearing aids downstairs, but I'm texting my wife to see if she's maybe she'll bring them up for me.
Oh, if you want to just go down and get it, that'll be
Yeah,
fine.
maybe I should just run down and get them.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'll take you off the stage in the meanwhile. All right. Wait, was that him or who's in the background? One thing, Joe, I don't know if he wanted to discuss it, but he did want to kind of rediscuss the idea of the objective morality. So that could be another thing that we talk about. But we can start with the other topic in terms of what Craig had brought up. Right. So do you want to, I don't know if we should wait for Joel. We'll probably have to repeat once he comes back. Craig's not on, right? I presume.
No, I haven't
back.
seen him.
So
It's a good thing.
So Joe, one of the topics that we were thinking of discussing was a question about modern evangelism. Blar, can you kind of pose the question?
Yep.
A question about what? How did you frame the question?
So I just posted it into the chat, but from 2 weeks ago, we had a Scottish theist, Craig Kelly, was on in the chat, and he popped this question up, and I thought it was quite a good one, and did ask him if he was going to be around at some point to pop in, and and he could talk about it, but his base is sort of probably 1 a.m. where he is, so it's quite an ask. So, but that's they're the two questions that, or what he wrote.
I don't know if I can get the question. I think I might have seen it, but I didn't.
Yeah, no, it's just a question of what we think about modern evangelicals.
Modern evangelicalism.
Yeah, especially in the U.S., I guess, primarily in the U.S. But I guess since Craig's
from a non-believer's point.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's not just the U.S., but I think U.S. has more of, a toxic version of evangelicals, I would say. I don't know if anyone would disagree with that.
Yeah.
Not really.
Well, I mean, it is interesting because I used to have this liberal friend back when I was involved in local politics, and she would always get offended by people saying disparaging things about evangelicals because she considered herself to be an evangelical, meaning she was kind of like trying to promote a more positive, picture of Christianity. But so I guess it's a lot of it has to do with, it just comes off so political in the U.S. I mean, I can't take it seriously as a religion because, I mean, getting back to this issue of lying and of course, not all lying is concrete, but I mean, the first commandment is that thou shalt not lie, but the level of deception that is tolerable, like by Trump and Elon Musk and other kinds of people by evangelicals, it just makes you scratch your head and wonder, like, what is really the moral basis of their belief. And in fact, if you talk to some about that esse, they have a kind of consequentialist attitude about lying as a matter of practice. That if it serves the broader end, anything serves the broader end, it's justified. How can it not be justified given the system, right? Because God is the sort of only source of value. So anything toward that end, however you describe it, would have to be, of value. And there's, I don't know, there's a level of, again, I think of religion like I think of philosophy. And, I taught metaphysics for 30 years, but one thing I would never do is grade someone solely on the answers, like whether they thought we had free will or thought God existed or didn't or whatever. I see all religious issues as kind of philosophical. And if you take this attitude that, our eternity, rests on that, it's like, well, I put today, I posted at some point that it's sort of like I'm asked to take a philosophy exam, but I have to forget everything I've ever learned about philosophy if I want to get the answers right. Because it's really just a sort of system that you have to embrace or reject. You can't sort of take it in piecemeal, nor is the system identifiable. I mean, if you ask different evangelicals, they'll probably say slightly different things. I have really firm, I guess, negative thoughts about it. American evangelicalism, I guess, but I would be careful just because there are, you don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater, and there are quite a few, Christians who would consider themselves to be evangelicals who are not conservatives, and their idea of evangelicalism, like how it's manifested, is much different. It doesn't involve perception, for instance. And there's a sort of level of tolerance in it. But I think that's the biggest question is, it seems like tolerance is just, it's got to be the one virtue that all religions should teach, but it seems not to be the way that things are going.
Let me just interrupt you there and introduce you to Joe, otherwise known as the Kentucky Atheist. He has a channel, and he has quite a frequent live streams, and he's definitely a lot more engaged in the atheist community in the YouTube stream, in the YouTube community. How's it going, Joe?
Hey guys, how you doing this evening?
We have two Joes.
Yeah, two Joes and a John. It's getting ridiculous.
Days.
And the J didn't even exist during the Christ period.
You can call me KA if it helps.
Yeah,
Okay.
It might be better if we just call each other Bruce.
Yeah.
Oh,
Bruce Campbell.
my
There
favorite.
you go.
Mm.
He's awesome.
And QC, when you call me, you can call me Al.
Oh,
I guess you call me Betty. So
oh.
just like I didn't see the whole Sam Cedar video, but I saw a little excerpts of it. It was kind of
I watched it.
I see
What
parts
did
of it.
yeah.
I watched it
Yeah,
multiple times.
I watched the first
I-
20
I-
minutes
I
and
completely missed
the
this. What
pain
is
was
this?
too much.
Mm. Oh,
I
that's the way I had kind of run into that. I know we didn't want to talk about Andrew Wilson, but I guess he sort of lied and said he was trying to set up a debate with Sam Cedar.
Yeah, I
And
remember
Sam had
that
never
too.
heard of him or hadn't, or claims that
Oh.
he didn't have anything from him about setting up a debate. And that's where he showed that video of Andrew Wilson saying, well, 90% tax rate on a $3 million earnings is horrible. And the original video he ended up removing because I think he realized how embarrassing it was. But someone who actually supports him had left that video up where he was saying, oh, Andrew is so right about this. But anyway, yeah, that's how I had seen that Sam Cedar video when I saw that one. But just going back to the topic, I think, KA would probably have a, pretty good view of evangelicals, especially I think where you had grown up, right?
Oh, sure. I grew up in the Southern Baptist system, so I'm familiar with evangelical Christians. Kentucky's packed plumb full of them.
Oy.
The issue is that it's not believers. I don't think that any atheist would tell you that people that believe in God are the issue, because they can be Democrat and conservative and liberal and any of those things. It's all different people that are indoctrinated into and then continue to believe those type of values and dogma. The problem is that mainstream evangelical Christianity has commercialized itself in a way that it has to fundamentalize its people, and fundamentalism leads to fanaticism, and that's what we're seeing happen. So you have the Christian right supporting extreme fascism because they think that's what the Bible tells them to do. And the issue is, the Bible itself, being written thousands of years ago, it doesn't change. And when you pretend to have a book that has every answer to every question already in it, it kills any kind of curiosity or search for any answers to anything. You already know the answer, and nothing in this world matters anyway. So it's not a big deal. So I think that while the individual Christians are not the issue in any way whatsoever, it's kind of like a logs on the fire deal, right? That, even though they may not be for those things, they're going to support whatever the church tells them to support. And churches are illegally telling their congregations to support right-wing fascism. So, I mean, that's kind of where we're at now anyway.
So
yeah, I think there is kind of a distinct danger in the theology of Christianity, the Great Commission, where the Christians are, called to, not necessarily convert, but spread the word. And, obviously in the past, spreading the word meant spreading it with violence. And, when you have the whole Roman Empire behind you, it's pretty easy to do that. And it's pretty easy to use that as a pretext to, get land or, invade other countries or other land, etc. And I feel like within Christianity, it's kind of built in, because if you think of Christianity as sort of like a cult, an offshoot of Judaism, the weakness of Judaism is that it's actually really difficult to become part of the chosen people. Even converting is not a simple, hey, I believe, so I'm a Jew. There's a whole process, and I just learned about this, but they actually have to turn you away 3 times because they want to make sure you're serious. So Judaism doesn't have any inbuilt way to easily expand. And they actually don't want to, right? If you think you're a chosen people, you don't want to have to, just have everyone just become special with you. You are special because you are the chosen people. So I think that Great Commission is kind of a way to address the weakness of Judaism in terms of, the potential for growth. And that has kind of allowed it to grow in a way, in similar ways to Islam, right? Islam also has kind of this dictate to spread the word, and they have built-in theology, if you want to call it that, where it says that at the end everyone's going to become a Muslim. So that's the end goal that they're trying to get, and Christians are basically assuming everyone is either going to be a Christian or they're going to be punished for an eternity. And if you are a Christian, and let's say that you're someone who actually cares about others, right? So if in your idea you have in your head that these other people are going to suffer an eternal damnation if you don't save them, whether whether they actually believe or not, and a lot of people I think sincerely believe that. If you have that belief, you want to save people, right? And you want to save it where you don't necessarily have as much of a regard to their physical well-being, right? As long as their spirit is saved, that's more important. So that's where you get the crusades and sort of forced conversion, right? Even if you torture someone, you're saving their soul for an eternity. So of course you are a good person to force them to see the light, right? And that kind of system of belief is what's kind of makes it dangerous, right? You just presuppose that you're right, presuppose that you're doing the right thing. You're presupposing that you're doing what God has told you to, and it doesn't matter what anyone else says. You are in that state where you can't, in a way, you can't be reasoned with. You're not going to care that reality doesn't match what you think. And I've seen plenty of Christians say that, if there's something that that doesn't match, that where the theology doesn't match science, for example, then it's science that's wrong. And I'm sure a lot of you have seen that. And I think that's what makes the evangelicals kind of dangerous, right? There's this kind of extremism that's sort of built in, like with Islam.
Arrogant anti-intellectualism. That's all it is, really.
And it also just, as you describe it, it just sounds so political. Like the objective is not to make people better people or, to enhance their moral life or even necessarily to get them to heaven. In some of these people, there's already some of these groups, there's already a pre-selected, so that's not even up for grabs. But there is a kind of control aspect. I mean, all of these kind of aspects speak to sort of control. And what the reason for control would there be other than political? So I think it's unfortunate because, I do think religions potentially have a role to play. There could be better religions and worse religions. Most atheists, what I like about atheism is that people have to, I was an atheist for a long time now, I'm a pantheist, but you have to think to have these kinds of views because they're different. So you have to formulate your own ideas with respect to the views. And really that's what you want. You want people who are engaged in these conversations, who think about morality, not necessarily the foundations, but what's right, what's wrong, what's better, what's worse. These are all important questions. But yeah, and it's just odd because in most cases, like another post I put today, I do work on Hume, but you wouldn't want just like a univocal view of Hume. That would not be good. You want diversity. But like, what makes Jesus Christ and the word of Jesus Christ different in that respect? I mean, how is an understanding of his philosophy not better if you get introduced diversity, criticisms,
Well, it's because it's not Christianity isn't compatible with logic. Like it's just not.
Or history.
No, it's full of contradictions. Even just a minute ago, talking about Judaism and Christianity. Judaism has to be true for Christianity to be true, but the two are not compatible. If that's the case, then Christianity isn't true anyway. So it's like you're stuck in this catch-22, and then you have a God that supposedly designed us with minds capable of observing the laws of logic and having philosophical conversations. But every one of those conversations has to question the existence of a God that says you can't do those things, but created you to do those things. So again, it's just it's nonsensical to even buy into to buy into that. But no, that's not really the thing, though, because it's not about like, nobody really looks at the philosophy and everything unless they're questioning it. But the thing with indoctrination, the most important part of that definition is that you cannot take a critical look at the things that you're being taught. It's a non-critical situation. And as soon as you start to look at any of the claims of any religion that's ever existed, they fall apart immediately because they're not meant to be looked at critically.
No, most theological structures are meant as a form of explaining what we can't understand, but also controlling the believers within that structure. So it's a command and control model. You command the actions and the activities, and you control the population. If anybody falls outside of that structure, then they're the others. They're they're typically the other tribe or the other people or the enemy. So it's a great way of classifying yourself and putting singular people into control or in command. But in terms of it being a way of moving forward with actual critical thinking skills, there's zero evidence of that ever being the case. And anytime that,
forget.
Yeah, anytime that. Sorry, what was that?
I was just going to say, let's not forget what the Mosaic laws say to do with the enemies.
Oh yeah.
So go on.
Oh no, I'm trying to think if it was Joe or if it was TK who was talking about sort of religion and governments, and I'm trying to think if there's ever any examples where those two have mixed together and it's ever ended well for anybody.
No. Religions are warmongers. That's what they're created for wars. And because if you have people believing that their salvation is based on believing this thing to the point that they will fight without hesitation for it, then they do that. Jesus wasn't supposed to come back to buddy with everybody. He was supposed to come back to lead them into war against the Romans. And that's why he was coming back before the last of them tasted death, was to lead them to free them from being occupied by the Romans. All religions are this way. Greek mythology, every time they invoke a god in Greek mythology, it's because they're having a war with somebody. I mean, that's what it's for.
Yeah, it's true.
And to the point of evangelicals, my problem with evangelicals is this: if you say, well, this particular evangelical is reasonable and that particular evangelical is reasonable, I'm sure you can find folks that you can have a normal conversation with and be friends with and never really get into a clash with. But if they consider themselves evangelicals and they are a part of a system that is ultimately ideologically and logically void, And in modern context, especially in America, then that means that they're a part of a system that's ultimately oppressive. So even if you have, quote unquote, one of the good ones, they're still a part of it, perpetuating a system that's ultimately corrupt and corrosive. So I'm not. Right. Is it possible to be a good evangelical? And I really get nervous when we start painting groups of people, but I do find myself having a hard time seeing.
I think it's the wrong question.
So, okay.
I think instead of are there good evangelicals, is evangelicalism good? And that is because the individuals, again, are individuals. They are not. It's not them. It's the system that they have been raised in culturally and indoctrinated into as children, and so there's a small number of people that convert and pick up religious beliefs later in life for a number of reasons, but I mean that's really, really tiny. I mean, we're talking about very small number of people. The majority of people are indoctrinated into it. So is that system good or bad? The individuals never had a choice. They didn't choose to be Christians, and you can't choose to believe in God or to not believe in God. It's not a choice.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, because like a lot of people say Islam, it has, ingrained within it, the destruction or their, things like killing, making it okay to kill apostates and their how they look at women and all that. It's all just kind of makes it a bad religion, right? Regardless of there being Muslims that are good and bad people, and there's certainly a lot of good Muslims as well. So, and I think in that fashion, there are obviously a lot of good evangelicals who go and do missionary work, not necessarily to just spread the message, but to help people. So there is that. But yeah, that's a good point, TKA. It's just the idea of evangelicalism seems kind of inherently bad.
Yeah, the way I see it is, and I'm going to simplify it here, and I think this has been bandied around by other people too, is the fact that if theists or evangelicals or anybody else that's a believer, if they can't win you over with words, they have to win you over with force.
Yeah, they're directed to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so I guess it does kind of go back to if you start with the idea, if you start with coming with the idea that evangelicalism as a structure and as an institution is corrosive, doesn't that therefore by necessity mean that all participants in that corrosive structure are corrosive?
No, so because of indoctrination. Indoctrination is the difference. They didn't have a choice. They don't practice this immoral thing on a level playing field, because just like me, raised in Eastern Kentucky, even up until I was an adult, I thought that everybody believed the same thing I did. If you were a Christian, you believed in a young earth and all that stuff. Like, I thought all that stuff was what everybody believed, because they're not able to fathom a world different than that, because they've been indoctrinated so heavily into it. The religion, no matter which denomination of the 40,000 you pick of Christianity, they're going to tell you that it's the right one and the only one. They're not going to give you options. So there's no choice in the matter. So I don't think it's a question of the individual.
So you see a distinction between those that have been encased in a bubble, that they really never had any meaningful interaction with the outside world or an ideology other than the one.
No, because Christians don't question Christians, do they? Yeah, no Christian.
That's not true.
My family, I think, pretty questionable.
No, it's not true completely, but on a smaller scale, no Baptist congregation member is going over to the Pentecostal congregation church and telling them they're wrong. You know?
Oh, I see what you're saying. So yeah. we're back to the I'm going to stay in my playground, and I'm not going to go go over and visit your playground.
overall they believe in the same thing, so they think those people are all on the right track, even if they've got small differences in how they do things.
They're just misguided.
Yeah, but
no, but I think that's just lip service that they pay because for now they have a common enemy.
If you put them in a room together, they'll try to destroy each other. But otherwise, though, they're going to fight against the outside part of it. Like I can argue with Kent Hovind, for example, a young Earth creationist fanatic, I would say, and Kenneth Copeland isn't going to stand up and back me in that conversation, right? Because that's Brother Hovind. Even though he doesn't believe in the same things that Hovind believes in, he thinks he's crazy. But
because the enemy of my enemy is
support me. He's going to support him because the God gang.
Yeah, we see that same thing in the comments on AXB.
Mormons are different, though.
when it comes to denominations,
talk about them.
Well, Mormonism is, I don't want to get there because Mormons is way out there.
Well, and that's it right there. Now, what do Christians say about Mormons? They're not Christians. I mean, you get that all over the place, right? Because they're not part of the God gang until you start talking about, well, Christianity is losing numbers and stuff, and then they want to talk about it's the biggest religion in the world. But if you take away the Catholics and the Mormons, it's definitely not. It's like number 4 or 5. So
I've definitely heard Christians say, or these Protestants say that Catholics are not real Christians.
Yeah.
I've heard that
over and over, all the time.
Oh, they think the Mormons are like evil and stuff. Like a lot of them.
It is.
When I first, I taught at Boise State University. When I first got there, they had a philosophy club, and the students gave talks like every week. They just organized it and dealt with them themselves. And I went to one, and the topic was whether or not Mormon was a form of Christianity. And it was this Mormon woman who was giving the talk, and a lot of these people were atheists actually, but all the Christians were pretty okay with just saying straight up, you're not. Sure. Was. I thought it was kind of amazing in a way because they do it with other Christians, as you were saying. It is kind of interesting.
Yeah. They drop all that stuff if there's an atheist that one of them's arguing with, or if it's and that's why we're having the problems in politics right now that we're having, because Christian nationalism and the religious right they're doing that exact same exercise only within politics. So and the problem is that they wouldn't even allow, like, if everybody in the world wanted to be Christians, they wouldn't let that happen because it's all about exclusivity. I have this thing that you don't.
Yeah, the thing is that they are supposed to spread the message, but you do definitely, there is kind of a racism aspect in some of those evangelicals where, they don't want to bring in the others, right? People who are different from them. Right. They want to say people who are closer to them. Although when they go to like third world countries trying to spread the news, I feel like a lot of it is just kind of, in a way, sort of the trying to save the savages kind of idea when they go to third world countries.
Yeah.
By the way, I just put it down, but the Sideboob had a comment about another megachurch pastor arrested for child sex abuse this past week. That's the other kind of thing, and maybe not evangelicals, but just Christian nationalists, how they kind of demonize other groups just by calling them pedos. And
you want to hear some crazy DOJ statistics?
wait.
I want to hear that.
Okay. Go ahead and but I was going to show something, but go ahead.
No, you can do that. I can wait. I'm fine. Go ahead and show your thing. I'll do it after.
Okay. All right. So let me see. Oh, what happened? Okay. Remove the other media streams. Oh, do I have another media streams off? Oh, I see. Okay. All right. So I follow, I'm not necessarily following, but certain accounts I post this regularly, or post when there's an updates on these kind of things. And I just didn't realize how frequently this happens. But here's one, March 14th, Mississippi pastor arrested for the rape and sexual battery of a child. And this was today. Pasco Realtor youth coach. I think there was some. Oh, realtor. I thought this was like a pastor, but maybe that's not right. But Fort Worth pastor ordered to pay $124 million for sexually abusing a woman as a child. Father Joe Bernardo, who worked with the school for several years at Diocese of Lincoln, said that during a session, Bernardo self-reported several incidents of sexual misconduct. Oh, this is the megachurch pastor, and he's like tied to Trump and all that. I think he was like Trump's spiritual advisor or something. Gateway megachurch pastor founder, a former Trump spiritual advisor, indicted on child sex abuse charges. This was March 12th, so just in the couple of days, right? South Carolina evangelical pastor arrested for raping multiple children. And I think that was one of the victims. Oh, and this is an interesting stat too. And maybe this is what you're going to show, Joe. New Zealand ex-mayor's brother faces 4th sentencing charge for student abuse. Head teacher of a Catholic school, and this is March. So this is like a matter of like a week where all this is coming up. Religious leader in Brampton charged with sexual assault. I mean, this goes on, right? And so when you hear these people saying, drag queens and trans people and gays are the ones that are, danger to children, and saying, oh, stay away from children, and also atheists, right? We see a lot of that in the YouTube comments where they just automatically say, oh, you're a pedo. Just because they assume that without objective morality, all atheists must have subjective morality, which means that they think pedophilia is okay. So they make that and then just call atheists pedos because of that. So despite all that, like I showed, there's definitely quite a high prevalence of sexual abuse amongst the religion, and I think there's multiple different reasons for it. And this is the stat in terms of the total offenders. There's 1 drag queen and 5 transgender people, but 846 are religious. And of that, 578 are actually like ordained religious people, like a pastor or all that. And 89. So there's way more politicians than drag queens and transgender people. And also, they are 2/3 Republicans and 13.5 Democrats. And
well, that
for some
just
reason,
proves that the law's out to get the right.
Oh,
way,
yeah, that's true.
It? That's it.
Yeah.
That's all.
This is what I was going to talk about, actually. Well, partly.
Okay.
We're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the source is. Do you know, Joe? TK?
Yeah. Actually, I have it right here. Where all that came from? OIG.justice.gov.
Okay.
There's a whole. They released there's a whole big report on it. It's called The Audit of the Federal Bureau of Prisons Management and Oversight of its Chaplains and Servants programs. And they broke all those numbers down to see what kind of resources were there for the various inmates that believe different things. And so they had to pull those numbers. But it's actually a lot worse than that. I can't find the other one. It's a Pew Research one. I know that. But Pew Research back in like 2009 or something did a study. 99% in the United States, 99% of all crimes against children were committed by evangelical Christians. And the stronger their beliefs, the worse their crimes and the more victims they had. Almost a majority percentage of abortions are by evangelical Christians, and teen abortions are by evangelical Christians. Repeat teen abortions are among evangelical Christians, and I don't have so much of an issue with that, but they do, so that's why I'm pointing at it. But within the prison system, and I've been in the prison system multiple times. Within the prison system, being an atheist is like unheard of. Everybody claims some religion, and most of them are deeply religious within there too. So it's death row. I don't think they've ever had any atheists here that they've mentioned anyway.
Oh, the irony.
But
well, but I think what they would say to that is kind of like there's no atheists in foxholes.
Sure.
Yeah,
That
true.
they basically become Christian or find
No,
God.
there's no atheist in foxholes, but there's plenty of evangelicals in prison.
Ooh.
So
But for
what do you
I mean, there's even a slang term, isn't it? Like Christian only while incarcerated.
Yeah. They what is it? They what did they call that? They get jailhouse Jesus and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The worse their crime, the more they're like that. They think that God's going to get them out of jail and stuff, and so whenever they first go to jail, they get deeply religious, and they're going to church and having Bible studies in the cell and doing all that nonsense. And then, whenever they're sentenced, then they quit giving a shit and they go to prison and stab somebody. But, like it's just.
But they do it for Jesus.
Yeah.
And it is also a good way to get probation, to get out to get parole, to get out.
Don't, those stats that I gave, I'm not trying to suggest any conclusion by those. I'm just telling you what they were. But here's my experience being locked up. The evangelicals know that you're vulnerable, which is their whole game, right? Kenneth Copeland is looking for the person that's having a hard time and whatever to tell them to sow that seed. That they're looking for the vulnerable. So they have special Bibles made for prisoners and breaking down the walls or some shit like that. I forget what it was called, but like they have all this specialty stuff for inmates, and there's constantly preachers coming in and out of the institutions, in and out of the cells. Even like I was in an 8-person cell at one point, and twice a week there were preachers standing in the middle of the cell, and you heard it whether you wanted to or not. Well, for a while, but they quit coming after I spoke to them. They did. And I got beat up for it.
What goes further than that also is if you have a look at where charity pops up a lot, or Christian organizations pop up a lot. We've got AA, there's hospitals, the charity and sort of normal charity type organizations, as well as schools, as well as prison. Those 5, there's a pattern in there. All 5 of them target, give you access to people whose critical ability to think critically is reduced in some way due to desperation or age or illness.
Yeah.
And that's the time when you need to indoctrinate. You can't it's so hard to indoctrinate a person who is with perfect sort of faculties and in good shape.
I know this isn't my channel, and I'm not trying to like talk more than anybody else, I promise. But I also I have been a recovering addict for the last 10 years. I was a heroin addict and did every kind of drug you can. I did more drugs than Kellogg's made cornflakes. These programs. The reason that Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous stays anonymous is because their success rate is 0. It's 0 point something, but they have abysmal results. Now, the 12-step program, the first step of that is to admit that you have a problem and you're powerless to fix it yourself. And then a couple steps later, we're getting into higher powers, and you have to accept that. Now, they tell you can choose anything as a higher power and stuff, but when you get into the later steps, that doesn't work. It won't work that way. So there's they have these groups and they don't report how many people are there or what it is. But the studies that have been done, the success rate is near nothing. They started not just medicated assisted treatment programs. That has been successful, but they started evidence-based care, and evidence-based care has the highest success rate in the business. And we founded the American Society for Addiction Medicine because of it. Since then, addiction has been deemed a disease because it physically changes your brain and makes you powerless against the drugs that you're fighting against without some sort of outside help. And the fact of the matter is that then the Christian organizations decided to start getting into those kind of programs because they can have the courts refer people to those beds, and they're getting checks for that. So what they've done is, and I'm trying to put together a full-length documentary on this subject, actually, so I know a little bit about it, plus my experience. But they've opened up these programs. One of them is called Ark that they do, and what happens is it's a faith-based medicated assisted treatment program. Now, in the state of Kentucky, a pastor is allowed to act as a counselor legally. Can in any way other than writing prescriptions. He can't do that, but in any other way, he's allowed to represent himself as a counselor. And it's like that in a lot of other places too, not just Kentucky, but Kentucky's really bad about that.
How is that legal?
They passed a law saying it is. That's how.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, of course they did.
Yeah, they passed
It's
a
the
law.
Emperor in Star Wars. I will make it legal.
That is true. Yes.
And you don't have to go to seminary for that either. Anyone who holds the title of church leader, pastor, however you want to word it, can act as a counselor to a drug addict. So that's bad, but it's worse than that. So we also have these places. What they do is, in order to install faith into an evidence-based program, they just add things like, oh, we're going to go outside and pray every morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, and you have to walk around with your shirt tucked in, and you can't say or do or any of these things. And the first time anyone breaks any of those rules or doesn't pray right or doesn't have their shirt tucked in, and these are literal examples, I'm not just being hyperbolic, they kick them out on the street immediately. Now, when you do that to a person who has been addicted to a drug like heroin or fentanyl or something like that, what are they going to do on the street? They're going to go use. And these clinics, not only do they not have a good success rate, they have a huge death rate because they're killing their patients, literally killing their patients. And this has been allowed to continue because government stays out of religion and lets them do what they want. And you know, again, we see the same thing happening in politics.
Except it's sort of the opposite, because government's making this a possibility when they should have nothing to do with it. Counseling is not a religious activity, it's a medical activity.
Oh, sure.
So, yeah, get a medical degree or fuck off.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. There may be a law for it, but like I said before, how's this legal? Like Laura just said, these faith-based are not medical doctors or anything. They have no skill set for that.
Well, historically, Kentucky has a supermajority Republican Congress and a Democratic governor sometimes. So we get a lot of this mishmash stuff, and you know, our governor's pretty much powerless because they can pass it without him. So the evangelical right, which you can believe in Kentucky, is 100% of our Congress is that. They do what they want, and they decided that because of their religion, a pastor is the best person you can talk to, because hooking you up with God won't only just save you from the drugs, it'll save your soul. So they have every justification they need to do it because they believe that to be true. They don't care about not inserting their religion into their job. They think they're supposed to do that. This is a country based on Christianity. Our founding fathers, drafted all that stuff because Jesus, right? You know, even though we all know that's not true, it doesn't matter if they keep saying it.
Yeah, and similarly in terms of like mental health, you do see a lot of. I mean, you do see some religious-based therapists who are using religion to, um, you know, to try to treat people's mental illness. And
Yep.
I'm sure there are some who thinks it's a demon position, right?
If you yes, but also, if let me just, for the sake of your audience and everyone here, if you go see a counselor, which if you need to see a counselor, you should go see a counselor. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you go see a counselor and they tell you that you should believe in God or go to church or whatever, that your problem is your lack of belief in God or something, you need to contact FFRF, the Freedom from Religion Foundation, immediately and give them the name of that counselor that did that, because that is illegal if they have a license. Now, a pastor can tell you whatever he wants to tell you, right? But if an actual licensed counselor tells you something like that, you should report them immediately so that their license can be taken.
Okay.
Yeah, it seems rather odd that a counselor would be
advising for an external lotus of power for correction rather than internal.
I've had like 5 different ones tell me that now. Like because of going through drug rehabilitation, I've had a number of one-on-one counselors, and I still go to different forms of counseling to this day. But I've had a number of them tell me that, well, have you tried religion? Christianity's really, that would help with some moral things and blah, blah, blah. And like, I just get up and walk out usually, but.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts about religion in general? I mean, we talk about evangelicalism and indoctrination. Do you think the same is true of religion in general? I mean, it seems like most organized religions have a fair element of indoctrination and politicalization in it. I mean, another way to frame the question is: do you think that because a lot of the behavior that you're talking about here sounds in the abstract like cultish kind of behavior, like they want you to join this cult.
Can you tell me the difference between a religion and a cult?
Well, that's my question is, do you think religion by its very nature is susceptible to sort of cultish behavior, or do you think
sure.
there are non-cultish religions that are at least possible, if not actual?
So just to address what I think you're trying to ask here, another Pew Research sociological study. They looked at different cultures around the world and religions and morality and all kinds of various questions that would come up in a religious conversation. And what they found is that wherever you're born, to whatever social group is the religion that you're indoctrinated into. And whatever the morality that group holds is the morality that you're going to hold. I mean, those things are, and that's human nature. We're going to do that no matter, even if you did away with modern religion, there would still be something like that, right? There would still be, well, these people are superstitious and these people are dumb and these people are, whatever. There would still be some kind of cultural influence on everybody that's born within that culture. So religion itself, it's not again, I have to separate the people that practice the religion from the religion itself, because it's the dogma and doctrine of Christianity that is or any modern religion, especially the Abrahamic ones. It's the doctrine and dogma that's the problem. It's not the people, and it's not even the culture. It's the doctrine and dogma that they've been indoctrinated into, and up until the information age, had no way to check that against reality.
Did someone say morphine?
Hey, Ook, how's it going?
Go on, Ook.
Pretty good, because I've OD'd on morphine patches about 3 times. The last time was this Wednesday. Oof. And yeah, it's scary. All because when you use these subdermal patches, the morphine releases, it should be 5 micrograms an hour. But if you let yourself get hot, go out in the sun, and I'm talking Australian sun, so it's 34, 38 degrees Celsius, they can discharge an entire 7 days supply of morphine into your system. That's what happened to me on Wednesday. I went to the hardware store. It was 40 degrees driving there. Sat in the car park for a bit and went, okay, I think I can get out. Went to get in the wheelchair, couldn't push myself. I was spinning, you know, and I just realized, because I'd been to hospital twice before. Last time I was on the patches, and I went, oh fuck, pulled it off. Took me 2 days to come down and feel normal.
So and by the way, 40 degrees in Celsius, that's 104 in freedom units.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Freedom units. Yeah, they horrible experience. And I've been on them for 7 years. About 6 years ago, I decided, no, I'm getting spinny, so my pain is, I can change painkillers, I can drop lower. My rule of thumb is, if you get high or spins off your painkillers, they're too heavy. You got to drop down. And the doctor said, all right, if you want to try coming off them, go for it. I've never understood physical addiction before. I spent the worst 2 weeks of my life ever. Shocking.
Yeah, so it's tough. It's
anyone with living in chronic pain, what you have to do is remember, if the drug makes you high, it's too strong. And you have to be totally honest with your pain specialist. If you don't do that, sorry, I also have pneumonia as well from my impromptu parasailing lesson during a cyclone. Yeah, if you remember those two things, if the drug makes you high, you're on the wrong drug. And be honest with your doctor. Yeah, that's me. I'll shut up about the stuff.
So can I respond to that, and then I'll step out of here and let you guys get back on topic.
No, Joe, you can stick around.
But
hang on, Joe,
yeah, you got it. During my addiction, we used to we would hear on the news that people were overdosing in a certain area, and we would go to that area and try and find the drugs that they were overdosing on, because we knew it would get us high. Like the thing about those patches is that even a drug like Narcan can't really stop an overdose, because it has a higher bonding rate than the Narcan.
Yeah,
and I mean it. I guess it'll help some, but I mean it's not going to stop it. But I mean, I don't know what the situation is in Australia as far as like just getting Narcan that you can carry on you. But I would suggest, if you're going to use those, that you keep it, because I mean, it does help a little, and that may be just enough of a difference to either give you time to get medical help, or to stop an overdose from occurring. And it's just, a couple sprays in the nose, and you're good. I mean, but, well, not necessarily good, but that's all you have to do to use it, I'll say. But just a recommendation on my part. Those the very fentanyl strips you're talking about, we used to take those and break them down and get all the fentanyl out of them at once, and then like split it between 3 or 4 people. And I've been clean for about 10 years now, but I've lost, somewhere in the neighborhood of like 150 friends at this point. Fentanyl is one of the most dangerous drugs in the world. Whenever it hit Ashland, Kentucky, our death rate went up. Death rate due to overdose went up 600% in a single year. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people from where I live are just gone. Just there's less people here now because of fentanyl and drug addiction, of course. But be careful with that stuff, man. I feel for you. Take care of yourself, and I hope that gets better.
Thanks, mate. It's one of those things. If you live with chronic pain, you have to juggle your medication. I have a fantastic chronic pain specialist, and I've asked about the Narcan, and he said, don't really want to give it to you because of the government paperwork I have to do and that you have to
do. Hey,
and
what's weird is I just went and looked that up, and according to health.gov.au, Narcan or naloxone is available over the counter at chemists for a fee without a prescription.
Oh.
Yeah.
In that case, I might look how
you
much
can
it
get
is.
it with a prescription, but yeah, it's available over the counter.
Yeah, well,
they are saying that there's currently a shortage of naloxone products, but if you ask for it, they'll get it for you.
Yeah, because
so
the first 2 times I did it, you can take a shower with these things on, and I had a really hot shower. Came out and ended up face down and in the bathroom. Took me to hospital, fluids, blah. Second
being
time,
said, though, my understanding is that is your natural state, is face down in the bathroom, isn't it?
Most of the time, face down somewhere. All like a 1-year-old, flat on the back with a bottle in the mouth. But for me, I rip the patch off, get home, stay hydrated, and there's a drug called ondansetron. I don't know its technical name, but it really does. The sickness you feel when you OD on something, that, or even if you're pissed and you go to throw up, if you can get an ondansetron into you, they just dissolve under the tongue in about half an hour. All your nausea-related symptoms will stop.
So,
and really good.
So, I don't know. Again, I imagine there's some differences in how they handle this in Australia than Kentucky. But I've overdosed multiple times on heroin, and whenever they give you Narcan by itself, it's like as quick as they give it to you, your buzz is gone and you're wide awake and you're dope sick. So yeah, a lot of times like a person will be in overdose and they'll give them the Narcan and they'll jump up and start fighting them because they took their buzz away, I've never had any stomach issues with Narcan, and I was actually in a medicated assisted treatment program taking Suboxone for a number of years. And Suboxone contains naloxone, which is just Narcan, and it never gave me any problems. I mean, sometimes I preferred to like eat before I take it, but that's just because it tasted so bad. But I didn't experience that. But again, my situation as a drug addict is significantly different than someone who's trying to treat chronic pain.
It's one of those things.
They gave me weed for chronic pain.
Yeah, I mean, weed's legal here, and I go to the if I want it, I can go to the weed doctor, get liquid, THC, and non, and just what's the other one in?
That's a fun day.
THC liquid, and then there's another side to the
like dabs and stuff.
Yeah, that sort of stuff.
So,
and go to the pharmacy anywhere and pick up some really nice smoke. But it's honestly
as good as it gets, probably.
Yeah, it didn't work for me.
Oh, wow.
Made me high.
Yeah.
Which was fun. But nope, can't.
Ingesting the edible didn't help you?
No.
Oh, that's horrible, man.
FYI, it's not legal to self-medicate in Queensland, which is a bit annoying.
Prescription. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I've got a prescription for mine. It's the same in Kentucky.
Homemade, not accepted.
Oh, yeah.
Mind you, Crystal makes some really, really nice THC Tia Maria.
So I'm not going to pretend to. I'm not a doctor, and this is not medical advice.
Yeah.
But I've done a lot of studying in some of these adjacent areas because of, again, my experience and wanting to talk about these things. And as far as like pain clinics and pain management goes, they have made a number of advances in applying, lower power painkillers mixed with a higher amount of different kinds of therapy to try and better manage people's pain. Now, I don't know, every person's different, and what works for you works, and you may have already tried all that and everything. I don't know any of that, but I mean, I would just be. I would keep your options open and maybe get some other opinions about ways to handle it. My mom worked as a nurse for 30 years and destroyed her back. And she had to have 3 separate surgeries on her neck and back, one on each portion of her back and on her spine. And she was on fentanyl patches for a long time and thought that's, what she had to do. And she had a lot of the same problems you're talking about. And eventually she got in a different program that focused more on therapy of it than trying to just feed it with drugs. And now she takes a non-narcotic pain pill every day, and twice a week goes to her therapy and doesn't have any, I mean, of course she still has pain. That's the deal with chronic pain, right? But it's not nearly as unmanageable as it was before. It's
like when they, the pain scale, 1 to 10, 10 being the worst.
Yeah.
Chronic pain sufferers generally sit at about 5 on a good day.
Yeah.
And that's because I went over a cliff on a motorbike when I was 18, and I've lived with about every 10 years I need to have a spinal surgery. And I've been on some of the heaviest, 3 times a week going into the doctor to get pethidine, and then injections, a horrible drug. But it was they didn't like to use morphine back then. They thought this synthetic one was the best, and it took me 12 months of really hard work to get off that.
It's the same story with Oxycontin.
Yeah. Well, I'm on endone at the moment as well.
Right.
But my pain will only be fixed by surgery.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. And the problem I have is if I do something stupid, like go out and try to tie down a tarp in a cyclone, I aggravate all the facet joints in my back. and I end up in a great deal of pain. So that's when I asked, can I have the patches? I need a bit more to supplement things. But yeah, I've got about 6 or 7 different painkillers and relaxants that I generally keep under key because I've been I've had the problem for so long, and I know as soon as I start to get a little high or a little trip off anything, I cut down on everything until I can work out which drug is making me spinny. It takes a lot of effort to sort
that's scary.
Yeah, to keep the drugs. I mean, at the moment I have Endone, which is Oxycontin, Panadine Fort, Meloxicam, which is a heavy steroid, good old Valium, Norflex, which is muscle skeleton relaxant.
So they have you taking benzos on top of it?
No.
Like the Valium? Are you prescribed Valium currently?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
I can. That's that's the joy of having a really good pain specialist doctor.
Well, I mean, we used to. There's a story you may have heard in the U.S. about Broward County, Florida, and its pill mills.
Yes.
So in Eastern Kentucky, it used to be, and it was called the Oxycontin Express. And there's actually a documentary named the same thing. But you could go a few minutes down the road into West Virginia and get on a plane and fly to Broward County round trip for $99. And so whenever we would go into one of the pain clinics or something, every person in there was from Kentucky, and every car in the parking lot had a Kentucky tag. And like, you would see more people you knew in the doctor's office in Broward County, Florida, than walking down the street or something. And so then there was that, and then we found out we could order it through the mail from Canada. So I could have like 4 different prescription boxes coming through FedEx legally, and have thousands of Percocets, thousands of Xanax bars, and pretty much whatever I wanted. And then in my case, I had some injuries and stuff, and was put on pain pills, and just it started there. And if you went to a doctor after that, they get you addicted to them, then they're like, well, okay, they either keep writing them or they send you somewhere else.
Yeah, and it's you've had your operation, you're fixed now, fuck off.
Yeah, right. And so they used to do a pain scale that was subjective, that you were talking about, 1 to 10. They don't do that here anymore. But I mean, they may ask you that, but it's not based on that purely anymore. It used to be. If you went in, even if you looked perfectly healthy and you said your pain was a 10, they were required to treat you as if your pain was a 10. Well, so all you just go down to any doctor and say, hey, I'm in a lot of pain. I need some, I took them Oxycontin. They worked before. And then you have the Sackler family and the pharmaceutical industry going around and telling doctors that Oxycontin wasn't habit forming and wasn't dangerous and all this stuff. So doctors were writing it like crazy. I got on drugs through legal means. There was nothing illegal about it. But eventually, I mean, that life is not sustainable no matter what. And to hear that you're struggling with, especially the pain medication, tells me that you're in a dangerous situation. And if that doctor is not willing to make changes to help you get out of that situation, maybe it's time to find another doctor. And I know that's easier said than done. But
the thing is, my pain's and the person in chat, my back's fucked, officially fucked.
I
got a lot of hardware in my back. I had my first 3 spinal surgeries before CAT scans were around. that gives
You know
you
what's
an
funny
idea.
about? Did you see my comment, Ook?
What,
I answered his question with, no,
Oh,
Sheldon, it's officially fucked. And then
Yeah.
you come on and go, nah, it's officially fucked.
Yeah. I mean, I was the second person in Australia to have total cervical disc replaced. They go in, they take it through your throat, and with me, they took out the vertebrae C6, 7, took it out.
Oh, wow.
And put in basically a ball joint. And I think I've had that 15 years or so. Perfect. Not a problem. I occasionally, if I kink my neck, I will get a pain flare up because the nerves run through a metal hole. So if I hurt the nerves and they swell, it's got nowhere to go. And that can be a bit of a problem, but I just take a Norflex, which is a skeletal muscle relaxant, and it works.
Flexeril is what that is, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or take a Valium.
Yeah.
And just settle down. But yeah, the reason the back's bad at the moment is we had a cyclone here on last Saturday night. And I already had a tarp. They'd already put a tarp on my roof because back in January I had some tiles fall off the roof. So I've had a tarp on there, and I had to go out and cut the tarp down because it had come off the roof and was flapping in the breeze, and there were, a dozen or so 20-kilo sandbags swinging past the window. There was also some, I think it was 9-foot long boards with 7-inch roofing screws in it, swinging like a pendulum past my window. Yeah. I wrapped
Did you say, look what God just did to me?
Yeah, I refer to myself as God's chew toy. But yeah, I ended up, and I measured it yesterday because I wrapped a rope around my foot, and I knew I shouldn't have done it. A gust of wind came up and took me 2.5 meters above the ground, and I was just about to cut the rope, got my knife out, and the gust stopped and dropped me back down on the ground. So yeah, I had a 2.5 meter fall straight. So I'm a little bit delicate, and also it doesn't matter what you're dressing when you go out into a cyclone, you're going to get wet, you're going to get cold. So I've also got pneumonia from it.
Well, Ook, I don't. I know we've spoke briefly before, but I of course don't know exactly what you're going through, but as far as some of the struggling with the drug part of it and stuff, if you ever want somebody to talk to, man, look me up. My Discord, all my stuff's on my channel. You can find it. But
I keep meaning to get hold of you because, as I said,
and not for content purposes, just if you want to talk to someone or whatever, just holler at me. I feel for you, and that's a tough situation you're in, and
it's one of those.
I don't know if I can help, but I can try.
Yeah. No, I mean, I get frustrated, but it's just one of those things. I think I might have to dip into because in Australia we have national health. Everything's covered.
Well, yeah. So I had to have open heart surgery a couple years ago, and I had my aortic valve replaced with a mechanical valve that ticks every time my heart beats now.
Yeah.
And my medical bill was $770,000.
So just the bit for my neck, just the metal, just the prosthetic was, and this is 15 years ago, $27,000. Then you had the operation, and I only stayed in hospital 3 days and out. But yeah, in Australia, most of those things are covered, but I've been to 3 different neurosurgeons outside the hospital system, and the operation that would give me maybe 20 years of virtually no bugger all pain is not really allowed in Australia. Because it's, if you go look at a spine, the facet joints are little spurs that come out of the vertebrae, and the nerves, they're there to protect the nerves that come out. As each nerve branches out of the spinal thing, you have a little facet joint there, and the nerves run under it. Because my whole back, all the discs are disintegrating, the only way to fix that is, one, put in even more hardware along the spine to keep the spine rigid, or cut off the facet joints. No facet joint, no facet joint pain. The only problem is they say that it makes you very vulnerable if you fall or whatever. And it's sort of like, well, fuck, I'm already vulnerable now. Cut the fucking things off. And I can't get the operation. They all said, yeah, this would be the best prophylactic medical intervention. But I've been to pain clinics and everything. I look at the like this. Pain, your job is to manage your pain, so you have to do whatever you need to. Exercise is probably the most important thing, because if you seize up and stop moving, that's when you're in a wheelchair for life. So I've done Pilates 3 times a day for the last 40 odd years. Also, overweight, can't be overweight. You also just change little things like when you go to put your seatbelt on, have a bit of rope coming out so you don't have to twist to grab your seatbelt. The way you walk, you know how people stomp when they walk? Walk lightly. It doesn't hurt your back. Yeah.
So I need to leave, but can I give a real quick PSA before I get out of here?
Yeah, go for it.
So if you are somebody you know in the United States, especially, but I reckon you could call this from other places if you found the how to get through. Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, SAMHSA, is the body in the United States that approaches some of these things. And if you're struggling with these things, they have a 24/7 helpline you can call. You can look up the number online, but if you want it, it's 844-289-0879. And in the United States, also, if you're to a point that you think you don't know what to do with yourself or anything, the suicide prevention hotline is 998 from any phone. Definitely, if you're struggling with those kind of things, there's people out there that care and want to help you. And if you need someone to talk to and you can't find anybody else, look me up. I'll talk to you. I even go as far as I've given my personal phone number out to a number of people who deal with these things. And so find somebody to talk to out there and look for help, because people care about you.
Is this correct, TKA?
Yes, that's it.
Okay. Yeah.
That number that up at the top there will take you straight to it. You can talk to them through chat too. Yeah.
Oh, it's covered by the logo, StreamYard logo, but it's 988.
Yeah. That's the crisis line, the 988, not 998. Sorry, I told wrong. But the 988 is that, and then there's resources for treatment and national helplines for drugs and alcohol and other things. So there's people to talk to if you want to, and if not, that's okay too. But look for help before you make rash decisions. That's all I have to say. It's a sensitive topic and takes a lot of people's lives, but the stigma that has been put on finding help for these kinds of things in the United States is ridiculous. And for anyone who has, I mean, I personally have children, or anybody that has family or children or anything, you want it to be the best you can be for them too. But you have to first take care of this for you. And until you do that, you're going to be stuck. And I've got tons of resources for anybody that wants them. And I even pay to put people in detoxes and rehabs whenever, if I can, and it's necessary. But so there's always lots of people out there willing to help. I work with several different groups through Facebook and other places that fight against these things when I'm not being a political activist or a religious activist. So atheist activist, I guess. When I'm not doing those things, I'm doing that. So definitely look for help though if you can.
Therapy works.
Couple months ago, we had a live stream discussing mental health. So we're definitely for removing the stigma against mental health.
Yeah, you know who is a great creator, small creator who will talk to about anybody on that subject that wants to have a conversation. There's a channel called Ways to Human, a girl named AJ. You probably know her, but an excellent channel, and she's all about psychology and the brain and all that, and talks a lot about those different things. There it is, right there. An amazing channel and a really great person to talk to. You can really, you'll be surprised. You can relate to her on a lot of different things like that. She's very smart and just a great person to talk to. But also, if you're interested in that, there's a French guy named Gabor Mate, and he is I want to say he's a neurologist, but he does a lot of talks and speeches on how these drugs permanently affect certain parts of your brain, and how addiction is actually a physical problem that talks. That's him. That's the guy. A really, really intelligent man that can tell you the science behind addiction and how it works and why it is a disease. If you're interested, learning about it's always a great way to know. And if you ever want to hear any horror stories from someone's past, come see me.
Well, we really appreciate you sharing all that information.
Yeah,
So,
thanks, Mike.
Thanks a lot, TK.
Yeah. No, thank you guys for letting me come on. Come visit me. I've been doing a lot more open panels and stuff. You're welcome to jump in anytime.
It's just it hasn't been working with my schedule, but I see it pop up in the notification, and I try to watch a little bit of it.
Yeah. No, I mean, if you can, if not, that's okay too. I'm trying to do more stuff. I've got the Ark Encounter Protest that I'm organizing and hosting coming up in Williamstown, Kentucky. So there's I've got that huge event going on. So things are a little bit scattered right now, but we'll be this will be the 9th annual Ark Encounter Protest, and I got the pleasure of planning and executing all of it. But I've brought on a lot of help and a lot of great people, and Pangburn, who you might be familiar with if you watch debates and stuff, has decided to sponsor the event. So we're gonna have this will probably be the biggest one in the history of in the 9 years they've been doing it. Next year, the Tri-State Freethinkers will be the ones doing this part of it, but they've asked Jess, my sidekick, and I to help with it as well. So definitely check that out if you're in the area and interested.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about your profile picture. So you just mentioned it. Thank you.
Yeah. I put that up. That's actually going to be on a shirt. And I'm getting ready to start selling shirts with that on it. And it'll have all the different groups I'm involved with. Pangburn, Black Non-Believers, my channel, The Kentucky Atheist, of course, and Tri-State Freethinkers, and Recovering from Religion. All their stuff will be on the back of it, and this logo will be on the front of it. And all the money from these shirts is going to go straight to the protest itself, because the hardest part of this is getting money to finance it. On April 19th, we'll be having a fundraiser You'll probably, if you watch any of the larger atheist channels, you'll hear about it coming up. But we'll have Godless Engineer will be there, the Skeptic, Secular Rarity. Aaron couldn't make it. He's doing another event that weekend. But Durante Lamar, Chris Mallard. I haven't contacted Mandisa Thomas from Black Non-Believers, but she'll probably be there too. And I'm waiting on an answer from Vostrano still on whether he'll be a speaker at the event, but I'm trying to get him to come to the fundraiser as well. All those people I just mentioned, Aaron included, are all going to be speaking at the Ark Encounter Protest. We've got about 10 speakers lined up. We've got, again, I'll run through them: Aaron Ra, Vostrano, Mandisa Thomas, Chris Mallard will be the MC, Durante Lamar, the Skeptics, Secular Rarity. All these people will be speaking. July 6th, Williamstown, Kentucky. If you need more information, look me up and get a hold of me and I can give it to you. And if we have money left over, if we make enough money through fundraisers, I'll buy everybody's hotel room. Like, but you know, like I can't promise that right now. But you know, so if I can help you and you're wanting to come and you need some assistance getting here or something like that, I'll try my best. No promises, but whatever funds we have left, I'll try to help people who want to come and enjoy it. So it'll be a whole weekend event too.
Yeah, and it looks like Creation Myths is on. And I know I had reached out to him before talking about one of the trolls. Well, I can't remember what his name was. Was it Ed, right? Yeah, it was like a live stream with Ed. I had asked him about that guy. We actually did have Ed the troll on for a while.
Yeah.
So
has anyone mentioned the debate that Planet Peterson did with
I haven't.
Boy?
Yeah, I just saw a little bit of the beginning, but I didn't see the whole thing.
Honestly, it was fucking brutal. What's the guy's name? I don't even. It's Stephen
Andrew?
or Andrew.
Oh, yeah,
Andrew Wilson.
Yeah,
Ah.
he is a fucking.
Wait, so TKA, did you not see the video where I had Andrew Wilson on?
No. Send me a link to
okay,
it. I'll watch it.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I'll
like,
go look it up on your channel here in a minute.
Okay, it wasn't supposed to be a debate, but you know, he turned it into debate. So all his minions came on in the comments and said how I got cooked and destroyed and all that, because I expressed my opinion that modern day debates should not have him on. He claimed that was me trying to deplatform him.
Yeah, I just put a call out to creationists who want to have debates leading up to this, just for clicks to promote the Ark Encounter Protest. But so, yeah, I've had a couple already accept, so that's coming up too. But with that, I'll get out of here, and thank you so much for having me. And everybody, take care of yourself and each other. Catch you later.
All right, thanks a lot.
Bye.
Yeah, Andrew Wilson. Honestly, if I was trying to debate him, I'd end up with an assault charge. Honestly, I don't know how Matt, when he debated him, didn't punch him in the face before he walked off stage. The man's an animal.
Yeah.
An animal. But yeah,
his whole model is to try and keep the other side off foot, off foundation. And then while the other person is not on stable footing or having to constantly jump around to the comments that he makes, then he starts throwing around the insults and tries to get under your skin. It's rage baiting.
And by the way, that Creation Myths, Daniel, he was saying that modern day debates, I mean, it's an awful platform. I guess I'm gonna now get all these guys coming on because I called it a platform, but I mean, they basically want guys like Andrew on because it's going to get all those rabid fans to watch it, and to them it's just really about making money.
In the first few years they started the channel, it was good. Now it's just, yeah, you're right, it's an artsy bar. It's disgusting. I'll just say something about John's wombat icon.
Yeah.
Look on. I'll stick it in the comments later. But there's an American influencer who was in Australia has now been banned from ever coming back because a wombat mum and her Joey, baby wombats called Joeys, crossing the road at night. They stopped in the car. She ran up, grabbed the Joey, took it away from its mother, and did a spot on there for clicks. Problem is, like most marsupials, if you separate them from their parent, they won't go back to their parent. So effectively, she's killed that wombat. And even our Prime Minister said, I'll be talking to the Department of Immigration and making sure she's never allowed back in. And she's not.
Yeah, and they'll never try to steal a cassowary baby, right? A cassowary chick, but it'll be a wombat.
Well,
the male,
they can if they want.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a great way
Encourage
to get
them, go for it.
You know, half
Don't do dumb things while doing dumb things.
Yeah. The male looks after the eggs in the cassowary, I believe. And he's a nasty bugger. Yeah, there's a reason why it's called the most dangerous bird in the world. Horrible stuff. All right, I'll shut up.
I was going to give a little quick humorous anecdote about painkillers and my experience in a emergency room. Sort of mentioned earlier in the chat, but over the years I used to suffer from migraines really badly, and I also had a period when I had gallstones. And for those who haven't had gallstones, just imagine someone's got you by the nuts and they've stuck them in a vice, and then that stays that way for, in my case, for 14 hours. It's excruciating. But anyway, so I used to occasionally, when I'd have a particularly bad attack, I'd front up at the hospital asking for painkillers. And when I'm in pain, I start to sweat, and because I'm not hot and I'm sweating, I get cold. So my skin goes cold and clammy and grey. So I look like I'm a drug addict asking for a fix. So I'm shaking and asking for hard drugs. So, but they always check the records and go, "Oh no, this poor bastard is in a bit of trouble. So give me the genuine stuff." But I used to, as I said, get migraines as well. So I'd had this one migraine for a period of like 2 days straight, and it just wasn't letting up. So went up to the emergency room to see if they could do something for it. And they went and stuck me on a gurney, and underneath a bright light sticking down in my eyes, which is very unpleasant if you've got a migraine. And then said they'll get to me. It took about an hour, I suppose, before they did. But in the sort of few minutes before they finally turned up, all of a sudden it was like a switch had been turned off. The migraine just quit. And here I am lying on a gurney in the emergency room, asking for hard drugs and no longer needing them.
Yeah.
And I'm stuck with this question: do I pretend that I still need them, or do I say, "Oh no, I'm good, I'll go"? And I chickened out and pretended like it's still I still needed them. So but just fucking 2 days had been going on, and then get there for an hour, and that's when it decides to quit, and quit suddenly as well, which is really unusual. So stuff you migraines.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. But I mean, and I think Joe will back me up on this. Therapy works if you're having difficulty with pain. Go and talk to a therapist. There's lots of ways a good therapist can help you manage your pain, because it is an illness, and it's one that most people and doctors don't understand. Genuine chronic pain is, we've been labelled as drug addicts for decades. And
I know I know how it goes. Before my father passed away a few years ago, he was on a whole bunch of painkillers because his back had given out, and plus his body was starting to shut down. Like everything was just giving out on him, and they just put him on so many painkillers to keep him, just to be able to function, which actually made him not be able to function.
Yeah, and the thing with pain and drugs is you have to be honest with yourself and your doctor. That's really important. If the doc says, "Oh, do you want to try coming off this?" and you go, "Oh, no, I like that." Oh, hang on, you got a problem.
Yeah,
because
I've also suffered from spasms and extreme, just terrible back pain on occasions. And what I discovered helped me more than anything was lifting heavy weights. So I took up powerlifting, and all the back pain went away. I had it just seems completely counterintuitive.
No,
but
strengthening.
It's not about strengthening. No, it's actually not about strengthening. It's about training your brain that the sensations that it's receiving are not to be considered pain. So
you're tricking your brain.
We don't have pain receptors. We have what are called nociceptors. So if, for example, you're walking barefoot, you've got lots of nociceptors firing off to your brain to say, hey, there's a thing happening. And your brain then goes and says, okay, well, should I consider that pain or normal? So if you're used to walking barefoot on gravel, your brain will interpret that as normal. If you're not used to walking barefoot on gravel, your brain goes, this is a novel experience. I'm in pain, so I should treat this as pain. A similar thing happens with your back. You feel a twinge or something, the nociceptors fire off, and you feel that discomfort, and then you worry about, is that something going to be a problem? And so you train your brain by focusing on it to consider the signals it's receiving as pain. So as time goes on, you get less and less function in your back, because function is essentially the difference between the point at which you can do something with it and the point at which pain occurs. And as your brain begins to take more and more notice of the nociception coming from your back, it starts triggering the pain threshold lower and lower and lower, so you lose function. So by lifting weight, what you do is you train you train your brain to say, actually, this behavior is a lot easier. It doesn't cause pain like I thought it should. It takes a little while, but it was extremely effective. So can I recommend people give a thought? I put a little link for what's called the Baraki exertion scale, and it's just a humorous little April 1st joke from they're the Austin Baraki and Jordan Feigenbaum, the two doctors from Barbell Medicine that I often talk about, and they're weightlifting guys who are exceptionally strong, but they're also medical doctors who spend a lot of time focused on this, and have even been asked by the American Medical Association to write a set of guidelines for GPs to provide to the patients about lifting weights. So yes, they're well regarded within the industry as well, and they've got some excellent resources about pain, in particular back pain, and what is they refer to as uncomplicated back pain. So uncomplicated back pain is just pain that doesn't have any other symptoms. It doesn't have any sort of incontinence. It doesn't have numbness or tingling. It's just pain.
Yeah.
So if it's got those other things, that's a see a doctor about. But if it's uncomplicated pain, they talk about there's no point getting scans. It won't tell you anything. It just makes the situation worse. and about how pain is interpreted by the brain and how it works. Brilliant resource. So if they're having a lot of pain, particularly back pain, but just knee pain is another one that they address. So what people consider arthritic pain, and that's another one of these ones where this idea of bone on bone, they do a lot of talking about that, how that is absolutely terrible way to discuss what's happening, because there is no such thing as bone on bone. That's complete rubbish.
Unless you actually lose all your cartilage.
Yeah, but nobody does. So you can lose the meniscus, you can have meniscus damage, but you've still got the 2 pieces of cartilage on the other side. People don't lose those.
Yeah, unfortunately, they removed mine.
Yeah, but not in osteoarthritis. So these are usually, and people think of them as wear and tear injury, but that just, again, it's like back pain. There's no, you can have a look at a scan and you can't tell if that person's in pain or not. A professional radiologist can look at a scan and be unable to tell if that person experiences pain or not. There's no correlation between what the scan looks like in a lot of cases and what the pain level is. So yeah, check out those guys if you're in if you suffer from back pain, and it's so effective. It's just ridiculous.
I've read their work and their new work as well. Some of the old stuff they did, and you got to rewire your brain when you live with chronic pain. You can't just sit there passively. It's a condition that you have to take control of. And with myself, because of the physical damage that my back has, I can't do powerlifting as such. But I do a lot of upper body, like parallel bars, working on that. I also have a gravity thing. Anything that doesn't put pressure on my back, I can do. Anything that relieves pressure is fantastic for it. I do reverse sit-ups. Instead of trying to bend my back to my legs, I bend my legs up to my chest and hold it, do it on different angles. Doctors are far too quick to hand out pain medication and far too quick to stop pain medication. The field of chronic pain in medicine is only really been around for the last 10 years, seriously. People had done a lot of research before, but the consensus was, no, they're just bloody malingerers. And I really should put my teeth in before I tried to say that word. But yeah.
No comment.
It's one of those things. It's my new normal. Every time I do something silly, I go, oh, that will hurt. And about 2 days later, I'll be, well, it hasn't hurt yet. Oh, shit, yes, it has. I'll go to the toilet and try and have a bowel movement, and it's, oh, great, my legs are asleep. I can't feel them. This isn't good.
And next time, I think I'm going to have to find a doctor on Twitter to have as a guest. We ended up talking about a lot of medical stuff here.
That would be a good thing.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I pretty much anytime I run across someone interesting like Joe on Twitter, I invite them on. So I did invite another. I think it was a creationist, and he had actually messaged me and said, "Oh, I looked at your thing, and you have like 5 people on your panel. So, is it going to be 5 again?" I mean, it's like, it seems like most people on Twitter don't have a good concept of what a civil discussion is. So, and discussion sometimes goes all over the place from subject to subject. So, but this turned out very interesting. It was great having TK on, and of course, Joe. I know you ended up kind of sitting on the sidelines for the end. Hope you enjoyed the discussion. I think we talked about some interesting stuff.
Joe, sometime I would like to have a conversation with you about objective and subjective morality.
Yeah.
Yeah, we might get to it one day.
Yeah, one day.
Keep in mind, we started out this evening talking about evangelical Christians, and we ended up talking about chronic pain management. So
it just goes all over the place.
Yeah, that was a pretty good discussion actually about the evangelical. I think that was
yeah. I thought that was great.
good to have the two Joes involved in that one for sure.
Yeah.
And it was interesting getting TKA's context in terms of drugs and pain and addiction, all that stuff. So I was definitely very happy to have him bring that up and give his PSA. But yeah, Joe, definitely. I know you had DM'd me in regard to, I think, our previous conversation on objective morality, and I think you want to kind of have a slightly different discussion, but I think we can save that for next time.
Yeah.
All right, so we're at 2 hours, and we lost Duke. He, I guess, had to go. I don't know what happened to Chris, though. She normally is pretty busy in the live comments.
She said she wasn't going to be on long when she mentioned it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and it was interesting having Creation Myths following Joe here. So maybe next time we can have him come on and have a discussion with him as well. So that'd be interesting. All right, so we're going to end it here. This went a little bit longer than usual, so hope everyone's okay. And back, and we Aussies have another first. Wait, what does that mean?
Oh, here we go.
All right. Well, we'll have to Tilting said thank you for coming again, Joe. So thank you everyone for being on, and of course thank you everyone in the live chats having you guys participate. It's almost like you guys are on the panel. So
yeah.
So beware the Ides of March, and we will talk to you next week. Bye,
everybody.
Right.
Julie, don't go.
Right, bye-bye.